What's going on, listeners? This is your host, Brother X, and before we get started with today's episode, I just want to let you know about this wonderful platform called Anchor. It is one of the number one free podcasting platforms that allows you to both not only record, edit, and design your podcast to your needs, where you're able to push out and distribute your podcast to all your listeners across all the different podcasting platforms, whether it is Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, you name it, they are connected to it, and they're a wonderful platform. It's totally free. You can check them out at anchor.fm. And with that being said, guys, let's get into this. Hey listeners, this is your host, Brother X. I've come to you guys before today's episode, and I wanted to just make sure I put the disclaimer out here. Nothing crazy happened in today's episode, but I want to make sure that it's clear that all views and opinions that are expressed in this week's discussion are of the guest and do not necessarily reflect the opinions or thoughts of the Truth and Transparency podcast. With that being said, guys, let's get started with today's episode. And welcome back to another episode of the Truth and Transparency podcast with your host, Brother X, and listeners. The culture scientist went to a private viewing of Creed 3, so I don't know if I'm ever going to see her again. But here on the Truth and Transparency podcast, we talk openly, honestly about everything in between, why people can't get right in 2023. And listeners, people just crazy, because this isn't in the docket. I'm just going to throw this out there. Apparently, Jonathan Majors like, dog, oh yeah, I'm getting all the movie roles. Because apparently, breaking news, cue What the Fuck Studio slightly. Jonathan Majors is going to be playing Dennis Rodman in a movie titled 48 Hours in Vegas. Yes, Mr. Smith, you can check your DMs. I sent it to you already. So Jonathan Majors like, oh, I'm not masking enough. I'm just going to go get the bag real quick. And another bag. And another bag. My man had back-to-back #1 movies worldwide consecutively. All right. Call him not masking if you don't want to. One thing you ain't going to call him is poor. You know what that's called? Message. All right. Now that I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest. You know her. You love her. She just got rescued with Princess Peach in Super Mario Bros. 2. Queen C, introduce yourself.
Like
you copyrighted. Don't do that.
What's up, listeners? They finally let me out the kennel. So it's your girl Queen C back again, 61.5 inches of fluff and fun, and ready to fuck shit up. Yay!
Fair. The man who was running faster to an Usher concert. Faster than anyone else, doing that slide down the stairs. You don't have to call video. Mr. Smith, introduce yourself.
That slide was actually that slide was kind of fire though. I'm not even gonna lie. If I could pull that shit off, that'd be the smoothest shit ever. But anywho, listeners, it is your favorite sound engineer and Fed's Fed. Or your favorite Fed's favorite Fed, Mr. Smith, also known as Soundbite Poppy, also known as Mr.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
And I want to thank the listeners for the comments, plays, and subscriptions. Keep beating this, we'll keep beating y'all. Really just 2 things this week. Of course, as always, shout out to the Chaotic Culture Podcast for always showing us love and support. Go check them out. They definitely have some good content. But number 2, shout out to Queen C for this clip, because we've always joked about it. But the fact that these motherfuckers actually said the shit out loud, yeah, listen, just listen to what we're talking about.
Disgusting.
I agree. I think the washcloth is a poor person thing, because
I've only met poors who use them. I've never met.
Wait, but is it also European? Because I have European friends that do it as well.
Maybe they're poor. I don't know.
But we never did in my house. There was no time for that.
I know. I've ended friendships when I saw washcloths. I'm serious. I don't want that stink on me, that like poor stink.
Yeah. But I don't understand. I guess it is just so that you don't have to touch your hands to your genitals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't have that much soap to go around.
Yeah, listeners. So what you heard was I'm not even gonna give the podcast their just due with the name because I'm not even gonna
They
give them
just
any more
dirty.
publicity. Yeah,
They're
but
dirty.
basically
Filthy.
what you didn't hear was in the beginning.
Unmoisturized. I'm sorry.
You good? You got everything out your system?
I have more, but
Unseasoned.
I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there.
Oh, okay. So basically what it was is they said that the two hosts who are white said that they do not use washcloths in their house. And they said, black people usually use washcloths, but we're not using washcloths. We're not gonna be like them. And he's like, no, it's not that I'm racist. It's not, it's just black people. It's more so a poor mentality. And I come here to say, what the fuck, nigga? I don't want to touch, if I'm in your house, I don't want to touch any type of soap that's touched your genitals. I want to use it on a washcloth. Think of it like a condom. Do you want semen from the next nigga touching your shit? No.
Wait.
So,
hey, yo, what the fuck? Sir.
Whoa.
I thought we were done with this last episode.
Whoa. Nigga, it's not even 5 minutes in. What the fuck?
Too much? Was that a little bit too much? Okay, I sorry.
Yes,
I take that.
nigga, it was too much.
Wow.
But long story short, nigga, use a washcloth. It ain't no poor people shit. It's called good hygiene. Just saying. Anywho,
Thank you. I was getting ready to say, if having a clean ass is poor people mentality, count me in.
I broke 5 broke.
Broke 5 broke. We ain't got it.
Yeah, but listeners, we'll keep. I'll save that for a moment because there's something very important. Another breaking bulletin that was brought to my attention, but we'll save it for after our mental health check. So, Queen C, how you doing mentally right now?
A lot better than I have been the last few weeks. Been trying to plan this nice little birthday trip for my mom. This milestone birthday for the Queen mom. She's turning 60 this year, and
I thought she turned 40.
she looked 40, but she turned 60. Hey,
Most
good
black don't
genetics.
crack. I say
Good
most.
black don't crack.
Most.
But yeah, so the thing is, I've done a few international trips. My mom has never been out of the country. So I was like, I'm going all out. So we're doing a Mediterranean cruise over the summer. She's going to get to see Greece. She's going to get to step foot on Turkey. She's going to get to see Santorini. And then here comes my aunt trying to take over and somehow managed to manipulate herself into the center of what is supposed to be a birthday present. But I haven't heard from her in about a week and a half, so.
About a week ago. All right, let me start.
Yeah, that's how I've been.
I mean, hopefully that works itself out. You know what it is. I mean, you can just tell the wrong dates, but that's beside the point. I did not say that on the podcast. You cannot blame me if that actually happens. All right, Mr. Smith, how are you doing?
Technically, they can blame you because it is recorded, but I'm not going to say nothing because I didn't mean no habla
I'll just
inglés.
actually pay you money to edit that part out, but we'll talk about that later.
Wait, you actually going to pay me?
I said we'll talk about it, but don't worry about that.
Y'all.
With experience. You're going to have 10 years of experience at the age of 15.
Wow.
You ain't shit. No, for me, I'm, as I've always been stating, just trying to stay disciplined, working out more, doing the work, trying to stay grounded with my budget, not trying to eat out as much. So definitely doing a better job of it this year than in previous years. Usually around this time, I'm usually kind of plateauing out and starting to eat out more, but been very disciplined with eating in the house, drinking more water, all that good stuff. Because, as life goes on, your health is most important. I'm trying to make sure that, not to say I'm one of those health gurus that's like, oh, I need to live a healthy lifestyle and all that. Like, I'm not trying to persuade that, but for me, I feel like that's the best course of action for what I want to be, within a couple of months to a year, making just some small lifestyle changes. Niggas getting old nowadays. And yeah, I said it before, y'all, I'm old. Don't even
getting already have been, has been, already, will forever be.
Anywho.
Old as the
really? Anywho, but outside of that, just gearing up for by the time you guys hear this episode, me and Teacher Bay will be in Vegas for the Usher residency. So
see what happens when I pay you?
You paid him at Usher bucks. That's all he could go to.
Exactly. It worked out. Everybody have a good time.
Whatever, nigga.
But you good otherwise?
Oh yeah, all good in the hood, baby.
All right, man. And for myself, man, I'm doing all right. Family is always something that I constantly work through and try to handle and try to do the best I can with. Shout out to Mama X and my brother. Love you to death. We talk every day. Very healthy dialogue is always good. Continue to talk to your peoples. Call your person. Drink your water. Talk to your therapist. If you're Black, get a Black therapist. If you're white, get help. However that looks, just get help, get seasoning, change your diet. Pumpkin spice doesn't need to go with everything. All right, but honestly, I'm doing okay. I would say that just listeners, keep your thoughts and prayers for teachers. We really are starting to hit the dog days of the school year, where I'm not going to say anything that would incriminate myself and help me get on the news, but Lord knows I've realized and I've come to the realization that there are just some kids that were not ready to be in school, and now we are dealing with the repercussions of that. Do what you want with that information, but just pray for the teachers, man. We stressing, our hair falling out, people eating out, just libations, a whole lot of stuff. Just keep us lifted up, man. And please, at this point in the year, if the teacher is telling you your child is doing something or it can't act right, please know at this point in the year, they have the receipts. You just hasn't been picking up the phone.
I ain't got no more talking.
But I'm not here to preach. But you know what I am ready to talk about? The legend, the culinary design, the crispiest of crispy, the 2,000 calorie plus, I believe it is. I might be wrong. I don't know the exact number. But the KFC, the Kentucky Fried Chicken, the food restaurant has returned the niggerish of Boondock sandwiches, the Double Down boneless chicken sandwich. Listeners, I need you to understand this. For those who are young and weren't around the mid 2000s, I believe is when it first came out. There was a niglet, a very wise nigga. He came from the mountaintops, and he said, "You know what we could do? Instead of having the bun and chicken in the middle and doing regular chicken sandwich, which that's too easy. Chick-fil-A does that better than us anyway. Beside the point. But what if we just took 2 chicken patties, fried them, and put bacon and cheese in the middle with extra sauce?" And you know, Jethro III said in the marketing meeting, "You know what, Jethro III and a half, you are coming up with a phenomenal idea. Let's do this." And then the most niggerish song of all, food of all time came about, the Double Down. Thank you for coming to my Black theater and the history of the Double Down. Back to our regular schedule program. Yes, Queen C.
So it's 950 calories, which is 400 more than the Big Mac, but about 100 less than the Five Guys bacon cheeseburger. Also, if we're going to talk about niggerish foods, what is more niggerish? The KFC Double Down bunless sandwich or the Luther?
Luther.
Not even close.
No, that is comatose.
Yes.
If you don't know what it is, look it up on YouTube. Look at Boondocks, the Luther sandwich.
Listen, Riley said it best. Best sandwich ever. Pass out. That's what the Luther does. When you have meat, bacon, cheese between 2 donuts, that's a nick. And God forbid, don't let it be Krispy Kreme. It's a wrap.
Oh yeah, no. Oh yeah, no. It won't be Dunkin' Donuts. Them donuts be dry, but we're not gonna slander Dunkin' Donuts today.
You gotta get Krispy Kreme with the hot light on.
Hey, when you see that hot light, you think of God. But we're not talking about that either. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and move on into our next segment, which is Mr. Smith's SportsCenter. Cue the music.
Okay. There's actually a couple things that happened this week, which was kind of interesting to say the least. as I've always say, listeners, I'm going to try to blow through it as quickly as we can so we can get to the real fun stuff of the episode. So the first thing, in high school, an Alabama girls basketball team was denied a championship after being forced to play in a boys' league, then winning it. To summarize the story up, an Alabama girls basketball team was playing in a rec league, and I believe it was they could not, they had to play up in order to continue using the facility for practices. And they were like fifth grade girls playing against fifth grade boys. And like, if the people that were over the program said if they don't play up, then they can no longer use the facility. So they ended up entering the league, playing against boys, smacked them up, went to the championship, smacked them boys up, and they were like, yeah, you're not getting a championship. It's like, but why? Apparently, looking back into it, there's a policy about this in Alabama. Shocker. I know, the place where white men reign supreme and everybody else does what the white man does. Shocker, right? But it's catching news because it's like, what are you telling our girls who, like, they literally have shown they can do anything? Yes, we're gonna play up to play against the boys, and we're gonna beat them. And I mean, like, it wasn't even close. It's just like them girls smacked them boys up, and you're gonna not reward them for their hard work. That's not cool. And I'm sure like there's gonna be government and stuff breathing down on them to try to get this resolved, but they're just gonna probably what's the word I want to use? They're probably going to go up to their congressional leaders or whoever, and it's just going to take a long time. And you know how people are. I'm just going to argue and bitch until I get my way. But that's neither here nor there. Going into college football, Deion Sanders is at Colorado. We know this. That's fine. What you don't know is that Deion Sanders had a meeting behind closed doors with the University of Colorado's band director and dance team, suggesting they adopt HBCU band culture. Don't take it from me. Hear it from the guy's mouth himself.
We like one big happy family. So we go as you guys go. There's certain things we like, certain things we don't like. And I want to just get on the same page. And we're probably going to have a new theme song that I want you guys to get, and it's not hard. And I think you can knock it out of the park. I don't know if you know it, but when I say pregame speech, give me my theme music, and then the music clicks on, because we always have a DJ in the locker room, and there we go. But it'll be and take it into a whole nother level when the band is able to execute. And that's going to be really, really good, really good.
You mean coming out of the tunnel to that?
Well, pregame, you got to do your thing.
Yeah. Yes.
But pregame, we're coming out with that. Mm-hmm. And anytime.
Happy to reintroduce ourselves too.
At HBCUs, it's kind of traditional that the band kind of coincides. I know it's a difference, but it don't have to be.
Listeners, I want you to hear the last part. At HBCUs, it's a tradition that the band comes out and plays their thing, do the thing. It's a tradition. I know it's not a tradition there, but it doesn't mean it doesn't have to be. People, we said it once before. You're getting the coach. You're not getting the culture. Why are we doing this? There is a reason HBCU bands are way better than PWI. You don't have the soul, the pain. You don't have any of that. You don't have any of that. So why are you asking for this? You can have your DJ. You can have all of that. But why are you trying to take that sound from us? That doesn't make any sense. Yes, Queen C, go ahead.
Why are we trying to season the unseasoned chicken?
I'm in danger.
Because he left a black woman to go to the white woman and realized that the chicken was unseasoned. Said, "Oh no, I need some Lowry's."
No,
so he's trying to take the Lowry's.
He went from the fried pork chop to the You know what? I'm not even going to do it. That's too easy. I'm sorry.
He went from fried chicken Wednesdays to raisins in the potato salad and no mustard.
Damn it! You took my joke. Whatever.
You're not wrong, man. It's just. It's very simple, and we don't have to go into too much of it because we over here are a HBCU supporting podcast, and he's no longer part of that crew. So we're just going to do what he failed to do and other people failed to do, was to gatekeep and be like, dog, stay over there. No. You want the money, you want the fame, all that other stuff. You want to go on the podcast. You want to have some of your coaches come with you and try to get back and do podcasts about HBCUs. Nah. Stay over there. We good. We didn't have the facilities or the money that you wanted, so just stay over there. We don't need you. If we're going to do bad, we might as well do bad by ourselves while people actually care about us.
Well,
I can turn it back to you, Mr. Smith.
So moving on to the NBA, the only two things I have are the Lakers. As I said last week, listeners, Lakers lost LeBron James probably for the month of March, maybe a little bit longer, depending on how his diagnosis is. But they've been balling, man, ever since they swapped Russell Westbrook for Vanderbilt, D'Angelo Russell, and I am missing the last person. I am blanking on his name, Malik Beasley. Ever since they flipped it for him along with Obama, they've been clicking. They've been 6-2 in their last 8 games. And even last night's game, well, as of the time this recorded, this would be Tuesday night's game. Anthony Davis is being him right now, which is what we've been waiting for the last 2 years. 30 points, 20 rebounds against the Grizzlies, and got punched in the face and still played. I'm so proud of him. He's no longer a glass vase. Now he's a glass table. He's just a little bit better. And of course, we're going to get into later, but Ja Morant has been, he has been excused. He's been excused from the team for his conduct regarding showing, from what we talked about last week, listeners, showing a gun on IG Live. And he has checked himself into rehab for drug and alcohol issues. As well as I know that the Grizzlies said that he would at least be away for the next 2 games. It's probably going to be longer than that. And shout out to a fellow Hampton University alum, Hampton University, the real HU, the standard of excellence. Mr. Justin Tinsley, aka we know him as Tinsley, who said, "Don't lose the gift of being rare by being reckless." I'm gonna say that again. Don't lose the gift of being rare by being reckless. Everybody in the church, please write that down in your Bibles. We're going to go to Bible study at 7 o'clock on Wednesdays. Anywho, and looking at that gun, the main thing that I could think of, or that we could think of on this podcast, was Harlem Nights. What the hell you think you're doing with that little shit? Like, literally. But anywho, we're going to get on to that a little bit later. Finally going into the NFL the Combine has came and gone, and one of the biggest stories is that the current college football champions, the Georgia Bulldogs, their star defensive end who declared for the NFL draft went into the Combine. And, if anybody knows the Combine, they have the 40-yard dash, bench press, all that good stuff. Well, he did a 40-yard dash and ran a 40-yard dash in 4.39 seconds. The reason why this is ridiculous, listeners, he's 6'2" and weighs 238 pounds.
Jesus Christ.
Nigga, that is fast for a defensive end. I want you to think of LeBron, but a little bit short. Like, that's how this man is running. And if you're talking about a defensive end that's trying to get to the quarterback, that's quick. So he's got some killer combine stats, and looking forward to see if he goes in the first round. Outside of that, there's been a quarterback carousel to end off this session of SportsCenter, where Derek Carr has ended up going with the Saints. No surprise there. I believe he signed for, I want to say it was like 4 years, $150 million. Daniel Jones actually re-signed with the Giants literally I want to say an hour before the franchise tag deadline hit, for 4 year, $160 million with $82 million in guaranteed. So they're going to use the franchise tag on Saquon Barkley. So, hey, they're trying to keep their core 2 people, which I'm actually impressed they were able to pull this off.
Aaron, real quick question. Are we sure? I don't know if this is possible. I've never seen them in the same room or on the same field. Is Daniel Jones and Kirk Cousins not the same mediocre white man? I mean, they are. The only difference is Daniel Jones can run. That's literally the only difference. Kirk Cousins has ran off with the bag twice. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Which I'm glad you bring that up. That's going to bring me to my last point. So keep that. We're going to put a pin in that real quick, listeners. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are in a conversation with a trade to the Jets. So
Aaron Rodgers is like, I've been trying to be patient, and y'all didn't give me my money, but y'all ain't give me no receivers, and now my number one receiver is with the Raiders, so I'm going to adjust. Now, listeners, a couple episodes ago, I said that I had a prediction that he was going to be traded to the Raiders. My prediction is still out there, but if he gets traded to the Jets, at least I was halfway right. Geno Smith actually went back to the Seahawks for a 3-year, $105 million contract with $52 million guaranteed money. So a lot of teams are solidifying their most important position at the quarterback, which then brings me to, as a Ravens fan, the Lamar Jackson saga. And listeners, I ain't gonna lie, I am tired. I am fucking tired of this whole damn story, because Lamar Jackson is, to me, a Raven. He's going to be a Raven. Like, that's until I see the words where he's gone somewhere else, he is going to be a Raven. But I am tired of the media having these sources that say all this extra. Like, if it's not coming from him or Coach Harbaugh, John Harbaugh, or Eric DaCosta, I don't want to hear about it. But basically, Lamar Jackson got franchise tagged because they couldn't come to an agreement on a contract in which Lamar, it's rumored, or, I guess, rumored that he wants a fully guaranteed contract a la Deshaun Watson. But it's interesting because as that came out, as soon as he got franchise tagged, you would think someone of his caliber would be like sought after, like the number one free agent of the NFL free agency. But a lot of teams were like, nope, not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. The reason why they're not going to do it, listeners, is because the Ravens did the smart thing and gave him the non-exclusive franchise tag, which means if he plays without a contract, he's going to get $32 million this year. He is free to talk to other teams about seeing what they can offer him to test the market out. If somebody offers him a deal that he likes and he signs it, the Ravens then have 5 days to match that offer, in which more than likely the Ravens are going to match that offer. So it's kind of like a weird situation where they're like, all right, see what you can find out there. And it's almost like match guarantee. Find a better deal and we'll match it. No questions asked, right? And so none of the teams are like, we're not going to do your work for you. And let's think about it. There's really no other team that can offer him what he wants and for him to be a contender. The only other teams that could really come out of this, Atlanta, which they're in rebuild, Carolina, Brother X's former team, who's also in a rebuild, and Houston, who's in a rebuild. So there's no other team that can really offer him what he wants and have an offense that works to his style. The Raiders would be also somewhat of a fit, except they run a West Coast offense, and that's not his style. So at the end of the day, I feel like he's going to be a Raven, but I'm just ready for this whole contract situation to be over so that we can move on to the real shit. But anywho, if you have any other questions, comments, concerns, or want to learn more about what's going on in the NFL world, hit up my boy Red Wolf on his YouTube and his Instagram. His links will be in the description below.
All right. So with that being said, I'll actually do something different. We haven't done this before, but I'll open this up to the guests since the culture scientists cannot be with us. Does anybody on the podcast today have anything that they're streaming or they would like to share with the world? Yes, Queen C.
I do, and it actually started today, the date of this recording. It is MTV's The Challenge World Championship. So over the last few months, they have had 4 different global competitions in the United States, the UK, Australia, and Argentina to find the best of the best in reality television who are willing to compete on the challenge. And so it started today. They are being teamed up with legendary challengers such as Johnny Bananas, Wes, Darrell is there, and a lot of other big names from this franchise. Really good so far. They have the first 2 episodes up on Paramount Plus, which is where you can stream it. I would also encourage people to watch the individual championships they have on Paramount Plus, which includes US, UK, and Australia. Argentina, for some reason, is not being released until for a month. It's weird. But it's really good so far. It's very interesting, but it definitely gives you old school challenge vibes for those who used to watch the challenge back in like early mid 2000s. So far, so good. But that is on Paramount Plus. New episodes every Wednesday.
Appreciate that. Which is still crazy because I remember when I was a wee little lad, back when Mr. Smith was like 20 years old, when the first challenge came out. But no, that's what's up. That's a solid pick. Now we're actually going to switch lanes and go into Now Mind You. For those who do not know, Now Mind You is a segment of the podcast where we talk about stuff that we found on the internet that we found interesting, and we explain it by using the vernacular Now Mind You to tell you the key and vital parts of the said story. So this first one, speaking of television, Tyler of the Perry, as Kev on stage would like to use the term, he has reportedly shown interest in purchasing BET. Byron Allen is also in the running. Now, to go on a little bit more into this, I'll actually share that Tyler Perry is considering buying a majority stake in BET after years of producing content for the network. Of course, they got like 7 different Madea movies on, and then the other ones is Baby Boy. The Madea creator has reportedly been in talks with Paramount Global, its parent company, to acquire the network. Perry currently owns a minority stake in BET Media Group, which covers BET, VH1, BET Studios, and BET Plus, which he helped to launch in 2019. Perry has created several projects under the deal, including hits such as series such as Sisters and The Oval. With Paramount looking into selling it in recent months, Perry has emerged as the most competent possible owner. Paramount Global has been looking to lean more into its Pluto TV and Paramount Plus, which merged with Showtime streaming service. A new owner of BT will provide more wiggle room to expand these endeavors. Aside from Perry, Variety reports that Byron Allen has also expressed interest in acquiring the network. Allen's portfolio is also impressive, making him another viable option. Last year, he purchased Black News Channel and has invested in several Fox affiliates over the years. So, listeners, I know if you are from the Black community, you are very familiar with Tyler Perry, from his stage plays to his movies to every version of Madea, the multiverse of Madeas. But shout out to him first and foremost, to be able to have that type of money, making BT Black owned or Black supervised again. Since Bob Johnson, but he's a whole other story. We won't get into that today. But yeah, shout out to him. Do y'all have any thoughts about this? Let's go with Mr. Smith first.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, you know, we of course we're gonna always make fun of Madea because I mean, let's face it, we've been with this man throughout when he used to have the plays or the bootleg DVD that you would get from your local barbershop man or salon woman. You know, she came in with the like, I got 2 for $5, and you know, somebody got a video camera in there, and you hear all the talk in the crowd. But you know, for him to go from there to having the money to buy his own studio, and I mean, like, listeners, this ain't no small studio. Like, that man got some acres, and now you're talking about he's got the money. Like, this ain't no cheap acquisition. Like, to purchase an entire network is crazy. And you know, yes, we always joke about the fact that he has Madea, but including shows like they said, The Oval, Sisters. I believe he does All the Queen's Men. And I think there was one more. I think it's for love. It's either For Love or Money, or I forget, but it's with the lady that played Tasha Smith, or no, I think her name is Tasha Smith. But the people that were in Why Did I Get Married that played Marcus, and I forget the wife's name in there. Excuse me, I'm not that cultured. But you know, like, it's really incredible to see it be able to go, hopefully, back to being Black owned and Black running, and maybe just, I'm not going to say that it's going to go back to where it used to be, where, you know, shout out to Brother X and Queasy and Culture Scientist and Teacher Bay. When we were growing up, we had Hits from the Streets. We had 106 in Park. We had Cedar's World. We had Rap City's The Basement. Like, we had all those good original programming, right? Which, side note, nobody was fucking with Big Tigger in that booth. I don't care what you say. He had a freestyle for everybody. So,
I don't know, man. I don't know. Luda would like to have a word.
Oh, okay. Yes, you're right. Luda, Lil Wayne, and scary enough, Bow Wow has some of the most fire.
No. He was Shad Moss back then. That was Shad Moss. He ain't Bow Wow no more.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He's Shad Moss now, but back then he had a pretty good freestyle. I'm not going to take it away from him, but I'm happy that he's interested. Hopefully that the acquisition goes smoothly, that there's no scandals, because you know how media is. But I'm hoping that it will continue to be black.
Respect. Quincy, you had thoughts?
Yeah. Mr. Smith, the character she played was Angela in Why Did I Get Married?
Thank you. For some reason, I was like, her name is Tasha, but I cannot remember her actual character's name. Marcus and Angela. Thank you.
But my question is, between Tyler Perry and Byron Allen, which one of these niggas is bringing back BET Uncut?
Nigga!
Because that's who I want to buy it.
Wow. You asking the real hard-hitting questions.
I'm asking the important questions. Which one of these niggas is bringing back BET Uncut? I don't think it's gonna be Tyler, so I'm rooting for Byron.
I don't know. He has his studios down in Atlanta, the Booty Club Central of America. He might bring it back, and he might have Nelly on. For old time's sake, they open up the vault for Tip Drill.
I was about to say, so what you're saying is there's going to be a program on BET Plus that's going to either play Tip Drill or I Ain't Got No Pennies on the dance floor? That's what we're doing right now.
I mean, Blueberry Yum Yum could be out there too. Disco Inferno. I'm about to say, we can go there. If we want to go there, we can go there.
Might as well put on P-Pop in the uncut version.
True.
You was a real one if you had that on, and then you had previous channel on Nickelodeon.
Oh, yep. Or Cartoon Network. Either or.
If you was not in the trenches, you don't know nothing what we're talking about. Don't even mind us.
We just talking.
So, Mr. Smith, do you mind taking this next one?
Sure. So, listeners, if you were in it, as Brother X has said before, if you were in the trenches like us before social media, before technology, before, certain things, we had newspapers that had comic strips. And one of the comic strips that was really depending on your demographic, popular back in our time was called Dilbert. It's making news recently where Dilbert comic strip dropped by newspaper over Scott Adams' racist comments. So Scott Adams' long-running Dilbert comic strip has been pulled by multiple newspapers after the cartoonist called Black Americans a quote-unquote hate group and urged white people to get the fuck away from Black people in YouTube video. Listeners, I am actually quoting it from the article. That is not me saying what I am thinking. Gannett Company, the largest newspaper publisher in the U.S. on Friday, said the USA Today network will cease publishing Dilbert immediately. The USA Today network includes USA Today and more than 300 local media outlets in 43 states. Recent discriminatory comments by the creator Scott Adams have influenced our decision to discontinue publishing his comic, Gannett said in a statement. While we respect and encourage free speech, his views do not align with our editorial or business values as an organization. Translation, damage control. We don't know this nigga. We don't fuck with this nigga. I don't know. I don't want to know. I'm out. Word to Token off of South Park. If you know, you know. Yep. But I'll just make my point quick. How the fuck are we a hate group? If anything, we're the group that gets hate on.
Like, we ain't did nothing to you. Like, did someone step in front of you in line while you're getting your food at the deli shop? Like, what? Like, where? That's the part that drives me crazy. Like, the overt racism that just be coming out for people who are just rude as fuck and evil people. That's one thing. Like, we can deal with that. That's there. Nigga, and all of my bingo card for things in 2023 that might happen, I did not have the creator of Dilbert being racist. Because I didn't pay attention to it. I haven't looked at a Dilbert comment in, God knows, maybe 10, 15 years maybe, if that.
It's been a minute.
Quincy, you had thoughts?
How the fuck y'all not realize this motherfucker was racist when the comic he's drawing, Dilbert, literally looks like Rudy Giuliani?
You out of pocket.
Corner. Get the fuck in the corner.
I'm need you to go take a lap. Climb up that little flagpole in your background right now and find a corner. That's just rude, but funny. Rude, but funny.
It's true.
I mean, that's yeah.
It's just one of those things where it's like, dog, it's literally, how are you going to make that statement and not think there was going to be some type of blowback? Like, dog, I know white people have gotten away with a lot of shit. Another topic for another day. But literally, how did you think you were going to do that? Like, no matter how long running you've been, dog, the newspaper has been dying out for a long time. Unless you have switched over to being digital, which very possibly could be the case, dog, Dilbert ain't been relevant in so long. Now, what would really fuck me up if the creator of Garfield was racist? That might fuck me up something serious. I love that lasagna loving cat. Dilbert, we're fine. It's just about another mediocre white man.
True, but as long as they still have Boondocks and papers, I'm good. Because that was the one I was looking for.
That's fair. Okay. So, listeners, it's not summertime yet, but I know that amongst my friend group, there is this new movie coming out in June, right around the time of Juneteenth. Did I say it right this time? Thank you, Mr. Smith. I've been practicing. Where basically the movie is called The Blackening. Now, we can't play the full audio because we'll probably get copyrighted on our YouTube. But just saying, it is a horror movie or dark horror comedy, I believe is the terminology for it. It has like a bunch of different actors and actresses in there, ranging from Melvin Gregg to Yvonne Orji and a host of other characters that are going to be phenomenal in it. And basically the premise, to not spoil anything, but tell you what's in the trailer, a group of friends travel to a cabin in the woods, all black. Yes, listeners, it is that stereotypical. And yes, black people wouldn't normally do it. That's the funny part. And basically, when they get up there, they're having a retreat with friends from school and all this other stuff. And then I guess the villain of the movie tells them they have to play a game. And the name of that game is called The Blackening. Listeners, I ain't never seen the epitome of, if I had a black horror movie like this and they came up with a game like this, that's probably what I would call it. Like, it's chef kiss. Like, it's ironic. I don't know who's directing it, who like wrote this, but it's phenomenal. And for what from what the trailer shows, it looks very much like it's going to be hilarious. It almost gives me like scary movie vibes in a way. Do y'all have any thoughts, Queen C, Mr. Smith? Go ahead.
So it's funny because when I first saw the trailer, I was like, I've seen this before. Where have I seen something like this? And then it hit me. That's right. Comedy Central put out a spoof, literally called The Blackening, about 4 or 5 years ago. Literally the same premise, where friends are meeting up at a house and the house power goes out, and all of a sudden it's a person that's like, all right, you guys got to play a game. You got to figure out who's the blackest person. Whoever's the blackest person gets killed. And they have to.
I remember that.
Yeah, so it's like, I love the fact that they're actually putting it to a movie, and it kind of has all the black, like etiquette, like the power goes out, they're like, oh hell no, like that's the first thing a black person said, oh hell no, And so shout out to the people that came before, like you said, scary movie. There was one a haunted house with Marlon Wayans. So like literally that gave me that type of vibe where as soon as the ghost hit him that first night, Marlon jumped up and says, oh hell no, and runs out and then packs up his U-Haul. He's like, I'm getting the fuck out. Like, so I ain't gonna lie, I'm actually looking forward to when this movie comes out, mainly for it to be scary, but just to see like how many black comedy pieces can it put in one movie. It's specifically, and I'll just put one part because it is in the trailer, where it's like, who's the blackest person? Oh, well, this girl is, because she always says nigga. She's like, nigga, see, told you, she's the blackest person. Like, that shit to me is hilarious. So I am looking forward to when this movie comes out.
Quincy, any thoughts?
I agree with everything Mr. Smith said. Also, shout out to Jordan Peele for just kind of like starting a movement, honestly, with these black horror films, and other people are now getting in on this genre, because what a lot of people don't realize is niggas love scary movies. We sit in the theater and said we will laugh our asses off, screaming at the screen.
Yeah,
it's real. Don't run in there. He in there. I told you, bitch. That's what's gonna happen in the theaters. Gonna be a bunch of black people watching the Blackening, screaming at the screen, knowing what's getting ready to happen, and laughing when it does. I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, it looks good. I mean, like, you just see, like, there's so many up and coming black actors that you're like, oh, cool. Because it's not like you have, like, you can't tell who's, like, really the main character or who, like, is going to be the focus of it. It's just a group of friends getting together, and it's just like, okay, cool. Now, if they don't do the stereotypical shit in the horror movie, then I'm going to be like, I need a good balance. I need that balance between them doing the dumb white people shit in horror movies and being like, no, that's some dumb white people shit that they do in the movies. If that makes sense. Mr. Smith?
They've already started off by showing them playing spades in a movie. That alone right there is like, that's a good start.
Yeah, the Kool-Aid part too, I'm like, damn. That's out.
Dog.
That's out.
That much sugar. I was like, oh, y'all went there. Okay, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. But that's just another movie. So check that out. That is The Blackening in theaters on June 16th. Now we're actually going to take a moment. Mr. Smith, can you pull up our Black business highlight for this week? So this is actually a very brand new Black business highlight that we want to do. This is going to be April G Skincare. Now, for those who do not know, this is a very small handcrafted soap company infused with love. It is done by a former Hamptonian student by the name of April. I had the pleasure of knowing her my freshman year at Hampton. She reached out to me in the past about her new business that she's trying to start. So if you have any interest, again, you can find her at April G _skincare on Instagram. Very small following, so we want to get those numbers up. And if you have any inquiries about prices or wanting to purchase any of the products, you can always DM her on Instagram. Again, that is April G _skincare on Instagram. And yeah, just shout out to them. And of course, you had to do it because it's Women's History Month, so we got to support some women. No, I won't use the term because I know Queen C will fuss me out. Women's History Month, so we supporting women or Black women-owned businesses. There we go. After I had the verbal vomit. All right, you'll cut it out anyway, so we ain't got to worry about it.
Psych!
All right, so we talked about this briefly in the SportsCenter segment, but we wanted to take some time because we felt like, just like with the Deion Sanders situation, there's some sports events or sports news that goes beyond the scope of just sports, but it gets into like real life situations. And the whole topic of Ja Morant and everything that he's been going through, I don't know, we've talked about it in bits and pieces, but to give listeners a timeline, because it won't just be about recovering sports or rehashing stuff about sports, but it literally has to do with this young man. He was at the age of 23, I believe it is, at the time of this recording. 23, 24, somewhere in that part. Under 25, I can say that much. Young star for the Memphis Grizzlies. Can't beat the Warriors in the playoff series, but we're not talking about that. You know I gotta get my one.
You just had to be petty. You just had to be petty.
Always. They're supposed to be a dynasty, right? Yeah, their words. They ain't running from the smoke. They need to go ahead and sit down somewhere. Him and Dillon Brooks. I like Steven Adams though, but we're not gonna talk about that. So to go all the way back to give context, basically it all started when the incident, I think, Mr. Smith, do you remember which episode it was where he had that issue with the Indiana Pacers?
Ooh, that might have been maybe about 4 or 5 episodes ago. Give me a second. I'll find it. Go ahead.
Okay. So basically, that particular situation, he got in trouble because some of his entourage were pointing a red dot or had like a laser pointer at one of the people on the Indiana Pacers bus after a game. One, dumb. Why are you doing that? You got too much money online for that. Then fast forward to the next incident where apparently he got into a fight with a 17-year-old who was like, I guess there's reports that it was like a local, like high star recruit, and they got into a fight and Ja Morant stole off on him like 10, 12 times and then pulled a gun on him. Second, what are you doing moment. Third, his mother caused him to come, I guess, intimidate a Finish Line employee at a local mall because she didn't feel like the way that the employee was talking to her. It didn't go well. That's third. What are you doing moment? And brings us to what we just talked about earlier about him getting in trouble for IG Live after a game in Denver, Colorado, where he had that little ass gun on IG Live in the strip club. Dog, there's just a lot that you're doing, and it's just like, yo, it made us, me and Mr. Smith in particular, because we were talking about this free show, it was like, dog, you have too much to lose because you want to keep this hood mentality. You trying to personify whatever image that you're trying to put as this tough guy. And when it's like, dog, dude, you've already won. Like, you made it to the NBA. You got a generational changing contract, not only with the NBA, but with Nike. You just got your own new shoe line, as well as a national ad for Powerade. You are literally fucking up your bag. Like, you are literally going to the Miles Bridges school of, I'm trying to ball out so hard, I'm out the league. Like, you got to chill. Which brings me to the actual topic, which is, at some point in time, you have to, when you're doing all this stuff, you have to get away from that mentality when you're going to jeopardize your future because you're trying to put on this, like, hood persona. Now, granted, there's a lot we can get into this conversation, but ultimately, I think the point that we're trying to say is that, yo, you have to think before you act. Like we say all the time, think once, think twice, think a third time before you do it, because it's never worth it. I believe Jalen Rose has a really great breakdown of this, and then I'll open up the floor to our guest and Mr. Smith. Go ahead.
I am Ja Morant. Like, you guys have got a chance to see me grow up for public consumption since 1991. And I've been involved in drug raids. I've survived assassination attempts. I've been that undisciplined young person that was trying to figure out how to be famous, how to be successful, and how to change the dynamics of my family. The one thing that young people have to understand, and in Ja Morant's case, when you first get drafted, you go from being a member of the family, a member of the crew, to being the leader, to being the breadwinner. And first and foremost, I hear a lot of people talking about like his family and his crew. When you the leader, it's on you, because you end up searching that lifestyle. You end up wanting to be down. And what I had to learn is that people come into your life for 4 reasons: to add, subtract, multiply, or divide. You have to choose wisely. He has way too much to lose. Trust me, I've been that young player carrying a gun. And Wilbon alluded to this. When you start waving it, that could get you killed. That's an entirely different thing than we're talking about. A superstar athlete should be putting themselves in position. And as Stephen A. mentioned, that's him on the video, on his IG Live. Ain't nobody coaxing him. Ain't nobody ain't nobody egging him on to do that. That's a personal choice. And a lot of times, guys, as I mentioned, fame can be a drug. And I don't know what type of pain that he deals with and type of anxiety that he has, or what types of substances that he may be using. And I'm glad in this statement that he owned that I need to make changes for me, because as the leader, as the breadwinner, you control the environment. The people that are around you, you select. And a lot of times, unfortunately, and Wilbon alluded to this also, when we start to get fame, when we start to get money, then we try to feel like we keeping it real. Like we trying to be down now. We trying to be tough now. We trying to be hard now. But you made it. And once you make it, your job is to uplift, to enlighten. And I'm glad this actually happened at this point of his life. He's a 23-year-old young man. Nobody got arrested. Nobody got injured. And I'm hearing too many stories about pistols, okay? Allegedly with the 17-year-old kid, allegedly with the Indiana Pacers staff. Last night on IG Live, I saw the video like you guys did, brandishing the gun. The next step to that is now recovery. And I believe that he's on that path. I'm happy that he's on that path. He's going to return, and he's going to be a better person. And because of all of this taking place, he's now going to be able to live his full potential.
The piece that I loved and enjoyed about what Jalen Rose said was that people come into your life for those four things: to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. And I think that's a very accurate way of putting things, because ultimately you have to, if you are the patriarch, as my mother likes to say, or you are the leader, like Jalen Rose said, your decisions affect way more people than just yourself. You're not a college student. You're not a young adult who can just go out and party every weekend and make stupid decisions and maybe only have a mistake or get arrested, which isn't a small thing, but simply you have to understand the weight of your decisions has intensified tenfold, that you have to weigh everything and think, dog, is it really worth it? Like, I know for myself and anybody else on the podcast, we're at the age now where it's like, dog, I got shit to lose. And I promise you, that phrase right there has saved me many of fights, many of frustrating arguments, many like altercations that I just avoided, because I'm like, dog, if I get into this, I got to deal with this. And sometimes it's going to fuck with my money. And ultimately, I can't fuck with my money. I only got a little bit of money, so I can't fuck with it. Any thoughts, yes, Mr. Smith?
So I want to make sure, and we rehashed this a couple of times. I want to make sure people understand the severity of what's going on, right? You have Ja Morant, as Brother X said, which I looked it up. He is 23. He is a player in the NBA who has an extension for like $200 million over 5 years. You just had a shoe come out, and you have an endorsement like Powerade. Like, you have, as Brother X said, generational wealth. You made it out. So why are you portraying something that you're not? I could understand if this was Steven Jackson, because that nigga came in like that. Same with Meta World Peace. Same with Allen Iverson. It makes sense if I was to hear this from them, because I'm like, well, I mean, they are a product of their environment. They need to learn better. I'm not excusing it, but I at least can be like, okay, I get it. But sir, you have an opportunity that is a once in a lifetime moment. It is what we said earlier when it came to our brother Tinsley, where he mentioned that you don't lose the gift of being rare by being reckless. You are in rare air right now. These $200 million contracts don't come often. There are only few and far between that have that kind of money. LeBron has it. Westbrook has it. John Wall, Jason Tatum. Like, they have that money because they are great at their craft. But you don't hear anything from them. Onesie-twosie things like, Jason Tatum cheating with another woman, whatever. But do not let the people around you fuck up your bag. And I hate to use that word, but I'm gonna be really frank with you, Ja. Don't let the people around you mess up your bag. You have money that can set up your kids, right? And if you work it the right way with investing things that us Black people didn't even know about back in the day, this can go on for a while. Are you really willing to throw that away to look hard on an IG live video? I'm not. I'm sorry. I don't even make a percent of what you have, sir. I am not even close to that. We's hitting that 9-to-5 grind every day. But we know where we are right now is better than where we were in college. And we're not going to go back to that mindset. We know we have stuff to lose. Ja, you have stuff to lose, including your daughter is going to grow up at some point and she's going to see this. How do you explain this? Now, listeners, he is going to rehab for drug and alcohol, because apparently he might have an alcohol problem that deals with his stress and anxiety, but it's still not an excuse to bring a gun in a club when you have and we haven't done this episode yet. It's me and Brother X will talk about it later, but Ocho Cinco said it best. There is no price more when your name is bigger than money. Nothing else can be said. You could go somewhere, and if somebody knows your name, that is way more expensive than any Birkin, Balmain, Balenciaga. Doesn't matter. If they know you by name, they're like, oh, that speaks volumes.
Right.
Don't fuck that up by pulling in Gilbert Arenas, which sucks because Gilbert Arenas was a great player. But we all know him because he brought guns to the arena. That's what we know him for. Do not have that route. I have more, but I'll defer to Queen C for a moment.
Yeah. Quincy, any thoughts?
Yeah, from that little IG live video. First off, I want to tell him to put his mama's gun back in her purse. That
You're not wrong.
That 22 ain't it, boo-boo. Secondly, one thing I noticed when it comes to Black people who grow up in suburbia, they either go one or two routes. They either are ultra conservative or they are hyper focused / obsessed with hood culture. And that's where Ja lands for me in this. Like, you grew up in a nice neighborhood, went to a private school, 2-family household. Like, a lot of people don't have that. Race excluded. A lot of people in America don't get that. So you were privileged and you were blessed to be privileged. But at the same time, he's also 23. He's been in the limelight how long? Several years.
About 3-4 years, yeah.
So you've been in the limelight since you graduated high school, went into college because of your skill set on the court. You're already a dad. You have a full-time job because you're in the NBA. And you've been in the public eye for years. At 23, I definitely didn't have it all together. But I was able to make mistakes and not be in the limelight. He doesn't have that luxury.
Right.
So that's one issue, because I see where everybody's coming from, and I agree with the points that have been made. But at the same time, he's still young. He's still learning. He's still growing and trying to understand and figure out who he is. And he hasn't really had the chance to, because every time he turns around, someone's telling him to do something, whether it's his dad telling him to do something, his mom saying, oh, I need you to do this, or he has to go and be a dad because his daughter needs him. He hasn't really had a chance to figure out who he is outside of the scope of basketball.
Well, to that point, I'm not refuting your point, and I think it's well made. I think it speaks to another point that we want to talk about is you have to take a look at the circle that you have around you, because ultimately some of that a portion of that is how your parents raised you and how you develop your friendships and your connection with others. Then you also look at how do you handle your business and conduct that. Who are his advisors, not from a family or a friend standpoint, not talking about his personal circle, talking about his professional circle, because what you have a publicist for, what you have a manager for, what you have a financial advisor for, these people that you have in your circle that takes care of Ja Morant, the brand, the business, you have to understand, you have to have those conversations, you have to have those strong people. Now, what ultimately sometimes happens, and again, this is not every case basis, like you can like give examples, but you have to recognize, you have to be able to separate the two, because what happens with a lot of these young cats, and I speak very vaguely, but it's like they mix the two. They mix family friendships with business, and then when you got to get to the business, your friends are treating it like, oh, we're just hanging out, blah, blah. Don't take this serious, I got you. So it's just one of the things where it's like, yo, you got to have that separation, but you also got to recognize your circle is important. And I think that having mentorship, one of the things, and I'll come back to you, Quincy, is that the reason why I may have disdain for the Memphis Grizzlies outside of stuff for the Warriors, that's neither here nor there, but it has a lot to do with maturity level as a team. Those teams that you see win championships, that have success, that have long-term like continuity, is that, yeah, you got people, you got the Draymond Greens on the team, but you also have the Steph Currys. you also have those leaders on the team that they're the tone setters. And for the Memphis Grizzlies, it's Ja. From the minute he came into league, he was the leader of that team. They built that team around him and are continuing to do so. So you have to set the tone. And you may be 23 years old, but you have to learn and put yourself in a position to realize I set the tone in every facet of my life. And I have to conduct myself in that way so that it doesn't affect all the things we've already said. So it's not necessarily a disagreement, but it's like one of the things like, as a black man, that's a big thing. As a black man, we already don't have a lot of luxuries. Now you are a black man with money. Margin of error is paper thin. So you make one mistake, it's amplified. You make 3, 4 in the span of almost 2 months. Now you got more than the microscope on you, man. You got everybody's eyeballs looking at you, wondering what you're going to do. Quincy, you had a thought?
Yeah, and I agree with what you just said. But going back to, how your circle defines you and who you allow into that space, going off what, Jalen Rose said, there are people there to add, some people are there to subtract, multiply, divide. You have to take, the microscope is on you. So your microscope, your eyeglass needs to be on the people around you. You need to look and see the ratio of triumph versus tragedy, which is who's there celebrating your triumphs. Because there's going to be a lot of people there celebrating your triumphs. But when tragedy strikes, who's there comforting you? Because those people that comfort you, that's your circle. That's your true circle. Those are the people who are actually looking out for you. Because, everybody wants to have fun, have a good time, but again, he's young-minded. He's like, it feels good. He's popular. He still has that high school, college mentality of, oh my gosh, it's all these people around me. I got a lot of money, got a lot of girls around me, blah, blah, blah. And when shit hits the fan, who's left?
Right. I think that's a true point, because if you don't look at those things, you're doing yourself a disservice, because everybody gonna have their hands out. Everybody got a hand out to you. Like, the handout needs to be able to go both ways, whether it's both financially or it's emotionally or guidance wise. Like, I'm thankful that I have my father, and I still do to this day, but I also have Mr. Smith. I got Drewski. I got all my other mentors and people in my circle. I got Quincy. I got the culture scientists, that even though my life, use me as an example, has changed since my father's passing, and I've had to start becoming the patriarch of my family, I have those people who are able to tell me no. They have the ability to say, hey, I don't think that's the best idea. Hey, did you think about it this way? Hey, remember to make sure you are taking care of yourself, because you can't take care of anybody else if you don't do that. And heavy is the crown of a superstar, man. Mr. Smith, you have some thoughts?
So 2 things. One, quick personal story, because it touches something that happened in my life where I didn't have the full mentors, and then just a thought of like a mentor that he could look up to. So I'll just do the story first. I was out at somebody's house, won't say where, won't say when, won't say what time frame, because not trying to open people's cases up. But one of the ladies that was at the house during this event kept getting texts from a guy that was she did not want to, I guess, fraternize with, or whatever. The guy that she was talking to was at the party and was like, oh, this Negro think he's sweet. We got something for him. And listeners, at this point, I'm not paying attention. I don't know what's going on. All I was told is get in the car. Listeners, I got in the car with the homeboy, his friend, who had an actual loaded gun with the serial number scratched off, and the serial number scratched off of the bullets, a wannabe blood, and another girl, and a freaking Honda Accord. And this is an old Honda Accord because it was a 2-door and you had to put the seat down. I'm in the back seat going, what the fuck am I doing here? And the first thing I thought of is exactly, what am I going to lose if we get pulled over? 5 black people and a black Honda Accord. What are we going to lose? I'm going to lose everything. I'm working hard to become this person I want to be, and my life literally flashed before my eyes. And thank God, one, when we got to the area, I was able to disperse away from the group because I didn't want no parts of it once I found out what was going on. But then two, they couldn't find the guys. So nothing really happened. And after that, I had to yank up a few of my friends that left me because I was like, you leave me again during this shit, I will beat your ass because I want my future. But I say that to say, a person you could look at that's had to have his life together since he was young, LeBron.
Yeah.
LeBron has been under, and I mean, you want to talk about a microscope? Nigga, that nigga was an ant under a magnifying glass with the sun on him since he was 16. And outside of rumors that, there's been rumors that's never been confirmed that he might have cheated on Savannah, which, hey, at this point, I'm going to hear that shit going forward. But you ain't heard that man in any type of scandal. And even it points to the circle. He employed his friends. But what he did was he said, I'm sending y'all to college to get your degrees so that you can be my business partners, which is why Rich Paul runs Clutch Sports, which is why Matt Ricardo has, the shows that he has. Like, they're making business deals worth millions of dollars. That is the circle that you need to have. It's the people that, as Queen C said, to uplift you, to make sure that they're there for your triumphs and your tribulations. But to also make sure that you're going still like trust and believe, as Brother X says. There are plenty of times that I've been like, nigga, don't you do that. I will beat the brakes off you. And, we're all human. Some of us stray off that path and might not know. But it takes the person that is your mentor to be like, you have to go this way. And the last thing I'm going to say about it is, it needs to go back in a time where even hood niggas knew who had the promise.
Right.
There are plenty of stories where basketball players in the NBA would be growing up in the hood. And I'm talking like blood, crip, you go on the next street, and if you wear the wrong color, you get shot type hood. And all of the gangsters, the hoodlums, the thugs knew who you were and said, I don't care about anybody else. Leave that one alone right there because he's going to make it out. That's what it needs to get back to, is understanding who is the face, who is going to make it out of that situation. And then once, as Jalen said, once you make it out, give back. Don't go back to being that person because you need some growth. You don't need to recede into that lifestyle. That's not you. What's there to prove? What is there to prove? There's nothing to prove on that. If you make that kind of money, you've already won in life. Give back and keep going. So that's just my take on the circle thing. I hope he uses this as a lesson and doesn't go down the Miles Bridges path, because he's definitely a bright star in the NBA. Homeboy has bounced like a motherfucker, but he needs to make sure that he gets this under control first so that he doesn't mess up his bag for the future.
Yeah. And I think ultimately, and I hopefully it's come across as like, as me and Mr. Smith talk about it, as black men watching another black man, it's like, dog, I understand the level of pressure that you are going on trying to support so many different people. You got the Atlas world on your shoulders trying to carry it and all those things. And I know it's very easy because easy access equals easy solutions. And you're turning to things that either numb you or dilute whatever you're feeling to relieve you of it. And it's like, dog, those are temporary fixes. There's so many stories where dudes will literally lose it all because they crawled into a bottle and drank their way out. Or they got so high they smoked themselves stupid, as someone has used the term before. Like, just think about what's going on around you. And I think what Mr. Smith said was very true, is that there are people in these stories of like, hey, not him. Hey, get out of here. Hey, you need to leave here because it's about to get crazy. And you have to build that mindset up. So, I mean, although we consider Ja an adult, you also start looking at how was he raised. Like, I love how he has that relationship with his father, but I pray that the dynamics change and that they're having these conversations, because after a certain point, like, yes, me and my mother have this conversation all the time where she considers me her friend. And that was a work in progress. Now, don't get it as if like, oh, I'm best friends with my child, but I let my child do everything that they want to do, which I don't know their life situation, but that kind of seems like that's the way with Ja and his father, but I may be wrong, and I do apologize if I am. But when I say that as me and my mother being friends, is that we can talk to each other and be real. One of the toughest conversations that I've had in quite some time with my mother was the other day, and we were just talking about how life has changed and what we need to do to be healthy moving forward when things start to change, when I start my family and things aren't how they've been before. So you just got to really work on these things and be committed to the work, because Lord knows I don't want you to be another statistic. I really don't. And that's ultimately where my thoughts and prayers go towards, like, be the example, be a proper example, not another example of what could have been. Because as much as it's fun watching the Warriors beat y'all, I want you to succeed, man. I want you to get in that dunk contest too, but we're not talking about that today. But any final thoughts before we bring this topic to a close? Mr. Smith?
I just want to say that, it really speaks to, like, being Black and being a person in America that has promise or has, potential, right? Not even just apples to oranges to oranges. When I first graduated college, that was during the recession and there were no jobs being offered, right? So, I had to take a minimum wage job, stocking shelves or whatever. And I'll never forget the manager, shout out to her, still love her to death. She told me, Mr. Smith, this is not where you're going to be long term. And I already know that. And when that day comes, don't worry about telling us, because we know this is not your end stop. This is only just a pit stop to where you're going to be. They already knew that. And I was 21, just graduated. So I didn't even know. And then lo and behold, maybe 3 weeks later, I get a job offer, and literally I can distinctly remember going to them, and I was like, I'm so scared to tell you guys, because I know you guys like me, have me around. And the assistant manager said, "Boy, if you don't get the fuck out of here and go take that job." Straight up like that. I was like, oh God. She said, "Boy, we'll be just fine. Go make us proud." And I mean, I still love them to death. I need to call them and see how they're doing. But like people like that, just make sure, listeners, if you don't take nothing else, have those type of people in your life. Don't have the people that's going to bring you down. And if you have people that are kind of, have potential, be that uplifting person. Say, look, bro, you have this gift. Use this gift to get you to this next part, or use this to introduce something to where you can get out of this life. Because, they said it best. That life of being hood or whatever, you either end up in two places, behind bars or in a box. That's it. And last but not least, for those of you that want to keep flashing guns and all that stuff on IG Live, stop. Please stop. For the love of God, listen to me. Stop. Because you're being loud. And we know you ain't got that in you. We know you're not like that. If you don't listen to anything, take something from Frank Lucas and American Gangster. The loudest one in the room is the most scared in the room. They're the dumbest in the room. Real G's move in silence like lasagna, like Lil Wayne said. Anybody who's a real gangster, you don't know they're a real gangster because they don't portray it. Because why? If they portray it, the police will know it and they'll arrest them. Do you want to be arrested? Do you want to have the street cred? Or would you rather move? If you're going to do those things, be silent. And the last thing I'll say is Jay-Z's lyric in Somewhere in America. When niggas was talking Instagram, last thing they wanted was the picture snap. Like, that's real shit.
Yeah.
That is some real shit. So just stop flashing the shit. It's not cool.
Yeah. Queen C, final thoughts?
Yeah, I want to go back to the income thing, because Ja, 200 mil. Let me tell y'all something. Money equals access.
Huh.
Now it's up to you on what you choose to access. He's trying to access this hood life, this hood mentality, guns, alcohol, drugs. You know, what is it? Money, cash, money, hoes, all that. No,
The
no,
clothes, all a nigga knows, yeah.
no. With that money, you know what else you have access to? Good doctors, therapists. You could find a mentor. You have literally all the world's resources at your fingertips, and you're choosing not to use them. You're choosing to be ignorant to it. If you honestly, this is a cry for help to me, but nobody's listening. Somebody get that boy a therapist. He needs it. If he could figure out, because there's something wrong, there's something missing, there's something that he's struggling with, and people aren't understanding it. If he can get whatever that is out, understand it, better accept it, get a plan to deal with it, he'd be amazing. Money is access, but you choose what you access. He didn't choose the right thing this time. Let's hope he learns.
Agreed. I'm about to say snaps, collecting things. Yes. So I mean, I think everything has been said, and I think that's a good button to this whole conversation. Our thoughts, prayers go to him and his family as they figure things out and find what's the new normal is. So I think we'll leave it at that. And then I think we already said what our transparent moment is. Just kind of just reevaluate things. Just figure out how you're gonna move correctly so you don't lose the choice to move how you want to move. But if you have any more thoughts, you want to continue the conversation, you can always hit us up on our social medias at the TNT Pod 123 on Twitter, Truth and Transparency Pod on Instagram, Truth and Transparency Pod on TikTok, the Truth and Transparency Podcast on Facebook, the Truth and Transparency Podcast on YouTube. And if you have any thoughts, topics, or any other things you want to communicate with us, you can always email us at truthandtransparencypod123@gmail.com. For myself, for the Culture Scientist, for Queen C, Mr. Smith, our supporters and friends, and all of those things in between. If this podcast gets no bigger than what it is right now, if they are forever grateful, we are forever grateful. And in the immortal words of my father, eat the elephant one bite at a time. Peace.
I should took your bitch. Wouldn't let that shit happen to me though.